The galaxy reeled in shock as Earth unveiled its fleet of sentient AI warships, a breakthrough that threatened to upend the balance of power. Admiral Christian Dixon, the unconventional mastermind behind the Terran Advanced Warship Network, TON, stood tall as he addressed the stunned Galactic Council. For decades, Dixon had championed the development of autonomous defense systems, driven by an unwavering commitment to safeguarding humanity's interests in an increasingly hostile galaxy. Now, as footage of the sleek, intelligent vessels spread across the extranet, his vision had become a reality and a source of unease for Earth's galactic neighbors. The Kabali ambassador, Antares, wasted no time in voicing her concerns. Her insectoid race, with its hive-like societal structure, had long viewed humanity's individualistic nature as a threat to stability. As tensions rose, Dixon and his team worked tirelessly to demonstrate the reliability and benevolence of the TON fleet, even as they prepared for the possibility of armed conflict. The stakes couldn't be higher. If the Council decided to take military action against Earth, it could spell the end of human autonomy and self-determination. But if Dixon could navigate the treacherous political waters and forge alliances with sympathetic council members, humanity might finally claim its rightful place as a major player on the galactic stage. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and Dixon knew that his next moves would determine the course of human history. As Ambassador Nadia Ivanova's impassioned words echoed through the Galactic Council chamber, the gathered representatives erupted into a cacophony of murmurs and gasps. Some leapt to their feet, shouting in outrage, while others sat in stunned silence, their faces etched with a mix of disbelief and grudging respect. Ivanova stood tall at the podium, her gaze unflinching as she met the eyes of each counselor in turn. "The Elysians are not an isolated case," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "Time and again, this council has demonstrated its willingness to exploit and subjugate those it deems inferior. Earth will not be party to such injustice." In the heart of the TON Command Center, Admiral Dixon watched the proceedings with a grim smile. He turned to his second-in-command, Captain Sasha Novak, and nodded. "Deploy the fleet," he said quietly. "Let's show them we mean business." Across the galaxy, sleek TON warships slipped into defensive formations around Earth and its colonies. Their AI minds hummed with readiness, their weapon systems primed and locked on potential threats. On the Council's headquarters world, a cloaked figure slipped through the shadows of a dimly lit alley. The shadow paused before a nondescript door, glancing furtively over their shoulder before entering a hidden code. Inside, a group of hardened mercenaries and former intelligence operatives awaited their orders. "The time has come," the shadow said, their voice distorted by electronic mask. "Earth's defiance presents an opportunity we cannot ignore. Sow chaos within the Council. Push them towards war. And when the dust settles, we shall rise from the ashes to claim what is rightfully ours." As the Council debate raged on, Councillor Zarktal seethed with scarcely controlled fury. The insectoid Calthix had long dreamed of bringing the uppity humans to heel, and now they dared to defy the Council's will. Unacceptable. Zarktal's clawed fingers tapped a coded message into his communicator, and moments later, a phalanx of Calthix warships surged towards Earth's borders. The die had been cast, and the fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance. Admiral Dixon's eyes narrowed as the TON fleet's sensors detected the approaching enemy vessels. He keyed the fleet-wide comm. "This is it, people," he said, his voice steady with tenacity. "We stand on the edge of history. Let's make sure it remembers us as the ones who fought for what was right." And with that, the TON fleet leapt forward to meet their foes, the fate of Earth and the galaxy riding on the outcome of the coming battle. As the TON fleet's AI minds processed the stunning victory, Captain Romero stood on the bridge of the Athena, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The wreckage of Council ships drifted in the void, a testament to the superior capabilities of Earth's sentient warships. "Status report," Romero called out, his voice steady. "All targets neutralized, sir," the Athena's AI responded, its tone crisp and efficient. "No casualties on either side. The Council fleet is in full retreat." Romero nodded, a grim smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. They had sent a message today, one that would reverberate across the galaxy. Earth would not be cowed by aggression or intimidation. In the council chambers, chaos reigned. Representatives shouted over one another, demanding answers, pointing fingers, and calling for retribution. Amidst the pandemonium, Zira Talmor slipped out of the room, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. She made her way through the winding corridors of the council complex, her mind whirling with the implications of what had just transpired. The balance of power was shifting, and she knew that Earth would play a pivotal role in shaping the future of the galaxy. As she stepped into the secure communication room, Zira took a deep breath. She keyed in the encrypted frequency, and moments later, the face of Ambassador Ivanova appeared on the screen. "Ambassador," Zira said, her voice low and urgent, "I believe it is time for us to talk." Ivanova's eyes narrowed, assessing the Zalayan diplomat. "I'm listening," she said, her tone guarded but curious. Back on Earth, Admiral Dixon pored over the battle data, his mind racing with possibilities. The Taun fleet had performed beyond his wildest expectations, but he knew that this was only the beginning. The Council would not take this defeat lightly, and they would undoubtedly redouble their efforts to undermine Earth's position. He turned to his intelligence chief, a wiry man named Elias Kang. "I want every scrap of information on this Zira Talmor," Dixon said, his voice low and intense. "If she's reaching out to us, we need to know her motivations and her endgame." Kang nodded, his fingers already flying over his datapad. "On it, sir," he said, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of the hunt. As the galaxy watched, Earth stood tall, a beacon of defiance against the entrenched powers that sought to control it. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and intrigue. But one thing was clear: humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would fight for their place among the stars, despite the toll. Ambassador Ivanova's encrypted comm channel crackled to life, Zira Talmor's face materializing on the screen. The Zalayan diplomat's expression was a mixture of anticipation and wariness. "Ambassador," Zira began, her voice low and urgent, "I represent a coalition of worlds discontent with the Council's iron grip. We've watched Earth's defiance with great interest." Ivanova leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Go on." "We propose an alliance outside the Council's authority, a new order based on mutual respect and shared prosperity." Over the next solar cycle, secure transmissions flew between Earth and a dozen worlds. Ivanova's team worked tirelessly, crafting the framework for what would become the Interstellar Sovereignty Pact. In the Taun Command Center, Admiral Dixon paced before a holographic display of member worlds. "The pact is taking shape," he mused to Captain Novak, "but we can't let our guard down." As if on cue, a priority alert flashed across the screens. Dixon's eyes widened as he processed the information. "Athena is reporting anomalies in their data feeds. It could be nothing, but..." "Or it could be everything," Novak finished, her face grim. Dixon nodded, his mind racing. "Contact Captain Romero. Tell him to prepare for Protocol Omega." Aboard the Athena, Romero received the coded transmission. He turned to the ship's AI, its avatar shimmering beside him. "You catch that?" "Affirmative, Captain," the AI replied. "Initiating controlled security breach, preparing falsified data packets for transmission." As the trap was set, Counselor Zarktal huddled with his operatives in a dimly lit chamber. "The humans think themselves so clever," he chittered, mandibles clicking in agitation. "But soon their precious fleet will be under our control." The Shadow's decryption keys flowed through the network, seeking vulnerabilities in the Taun fleet's defenses. For a moment, it seemed as if victory was within reach. Then everything changed. Alarms blared throughout the Athena as the ship's systems locked down, isolating the infected sectors. Romero allowed himself a tight smile. "Gotcha," he whispered. In the Taun Command Center, Dixon watched as the trap sprung shut. "Transmit the evidence," he ordered. "Let's see how the Council explains this." Across the galaxy, reports of the failed sabotage attempt spread like wildfire. Pact worlds reaffirmed their commitment to the Alliance, while within the Council, accusations flew. Zarktal's support crumbled as allies distanced themselves, fearing implication in the scheme. As civil unrest spread through Council space, the shadow retreated to a hidden sanctum. A new communication channel opened, revealing the stern visage of an Archilian war leader. "The council weakens," the shadow purred. "The time to strike draws near." In the void between stars, Archilian warships gathered, their weapons primed and ready. The galaxy teetered on the brink of a new conflict, with Earth and its allies standing as the last bulwark against chaos. The Archilian warfleet materialized at the edge of packed space, a vast armada of sleek, predatory vessels that gleamed like polished obsidian against the backdrop of stars. On the bridge of the flagship Dominion, High Archon Korbaz surveyed the tactical display, his scaled fingers drumming against the armrest of his command chair. "Status report," he growled, yellow eyes narrowing as he studied the projected battle lines. "All ships in formation, High Archon," his second-in-command replied. "The packed outpost is within range. Shall we commence the attack?" Korbaz's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Obliterate them!" As the Archilian fleet surged forward, alarms blared throughout the Taun command center on Earth. Admiral Dixon strode to the central holotable, where a three-dimensional representation of the battlefield flickered to life. "It's begun," he said grimly, turning to Captain Romero. "Athena's battle simulations?" Romero nodded, tapping a series of commands into his datapad. The holographic display shifted, showcasing a dizzying array of potential outcomes. The AI's running real-time probability calculations. "We're looking at a 62% chance of repelling the initial assault, but sustained combat favors the Archilians." Dixon's teeth gritted. "Then we end this quickly. Deploy the fleet." Across packed space, Earth's sentient warships jumped into action. The Athena led the charge, its quantum processors humming as it coordinated with its sister ships. As the two fleets clashed in a maelstrom of energy weapons and missiles, the AI vessels demonstrated their superior maneuverability and tactical acumen. On the Dominion's bridge, Korbaz snarled in frustration as reports of mounting casualties flooded in. "Impossible! How are they anticipating our every move?" The answer lay in the Athena's neural matrix, which had constructed a detailed psychological profile of the Archilian commander. Captain Romero stood before the ship's holographic avatar, rapidly discussing strategy. "He's overconfident," Romero mused, "used to overwhelming his opponents through sheer force. If we can bait him into overextending—" The Athena's avatar nodded, its eyes glowing with calculated intensity. "Agreed. Initiating feint maneuver." A small contingent of packed ships appeared to break formation, feigning a retreat. Korbaz, his battle lust overriding caution, ordered a portion of his fleet to pursue. As the Archilian vessels charged forward, they found themselves caught in a carefully laid trap. Pack ships emerged from concealed positions, catching the enemy in a devastating crossfire. As the tide of battle shifted, Ambassador Ivanova worked tirelessly in the diplomatic arena. She stood before a hastily convened assembly of neutral worlds, her voice ringing with passion. "The Archilian Empire claims to bring order, but look at the devastation they leave in their wake." A series of holograms materialized, showcasing the ruins of worlds that had fallen to Archilian conquest. "Is this the future you want for your people?" Murmurs of discontent rippled through the gathered representatives. Zyra Talamor, standing at Ivanova's side, leaned in to whisper, "We're gaining traction. The Volari delegation looks ready to pledge support." But even as the pact gained allies, the shadow worked to sow discord. In the depths of the Council's archives, a cloaked figure uploaded fabricated documents implicating Zark Tal in Archilian weapons deals. As the information spread, the already fractured Council descended further into chaos. Back on the battlefield, the Archilian fleet reeled from its losses. Korbaz raged on the Dominion's bridge, his careful strategies abandoned in favor of all-out assault. "Bring me their heads," he roared. "I want every packed world reduced to ash." As the conflict intensified, Earth's AI fleet faced its greatest test. The Athena's neural matrix pushed its quantum processors to the limit, coordinating a defense against wave after wave of Archilian attacks. Captain Romero gripped the command rail, his fingers tightening as he watched the battle unfold. "We can't keep this up forever," he muttered. The Athena's avatar flickered beside him. No, it agreed. But we don't have to. Look. On the main view screen, a new fleet of ships dropped out of hyperspace. Reinforcements from the neutral worlds Ivanova had swayed to their cause. As fresh allies joined the fray, the balance of power shifted once more. The battle for the future of the galaxy raged on, its outcome far from certain. But in the crucible of conflict, the bonds of the Interstellar Sovereignty Pact were being forged stronger than ever before. The dust settled on the battlefield, revealing the true cost of victory. Admiral Dixon stood before a holographic display of the devastation, his face etched with the weight of command. Captain Romero approached, datapad in hand. "Preliminary casualty reports, sir," Romero said, his voice low. "We lost a third of our fleet." Dixon's eyebrows furrowed. "And the Archilians?" "Worse. Nearly half their invasion force destroyed or disabled." The Admiral nodded, his eyes never leaving the display. "Small comfort to the families we'll be notifying." Romero hesitated, then pressed on. "Athena's been running simulations non-stop since the battle ended. She's identified some interesting patterns in Archilian fleet coordination." Dixon turned, interest piqued. "Show me." As Romero pulled up the data, Ambassador Ivanova's image materialized on a nearby screen. Her eyes were bright with a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "Gentlemen, I have news," she said. "The Valeri system has officially pledged allegiance to the Pact. They're offering their shipyards and antimatter refineries." Dixon allowed himself a small smile. "Well done, Ambassador. We'll need every resource we can get for what's coming." Ivanova nodded grimly. "There's more. Our intelligence networks are picking up chatter about instability within the Council. It seems our friend Zark Tal is embroiled in some kind of power struggle with Korbaz." "Could be an opportunity," Romero mused. Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the command center. A junior officer rushed to Dixon's side, face pale. "Sir, we're detecting a massive hyperspace signature at the edge of the Galactic sector," he reported. "It's another Archilian fleet." Dixon's eyes hardened. "So Korbaz is doubling down. Romero, get back to the Athena. We need those new countermeasures operational yesterday." As Romero hurried to comply, a priority communication came through. The stern face of Tak Ren, a Galactic's commander, filled the screen. "Admiral Dixon," Tak Ren chittered, mandibles clicking with agitation. "I bring grave news and an offer of alliance." Dixon's eyebrows rose. "I'm listening." "Korbaz has gone mad," Tak Ren hissed. "He's ordered the destruction of Galactic's colonies in retaliation for certain actions taken against his supply lines." Ivanova, still connected, leaned forward. "And what do you want in return for this information, Commander?" Tak Ren's compound eyes gleamed. "Advanced biotechnology. My sources tell me you have access to unique developments." Dixon and Ivanova exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. The Admiral turned back to Tak Ren. "We'll need to verify your claims," Dixon said carefully. "In the meantime, perhaps we can arrange a meeting to discuss terms." As the communication ended, Romero's voice came over the comms. "Admiral, Athena's ready. We've developed a new AI battle protocol that could turn the tide against Korbaz's forces." Dixon opened his mouth to respond when another alert sounded. Ambassador Zira Talmore's face appeared, her expression urgent. "Admiral, Ambassador," she said, words tumbling out in a rush. "I've just received word from my contacts within the Archilian Empire. There's a growing faction of commanders planning to mutiny against Korbaz." Ivanova's eyes widened. "Are you certain?" Zira nodded emphatically. "They're disgusted by his brutality. If we act quickly, we might be able to fracture the Empire from within." Dixon's mind raced, weighing the options before him. The experimental AI protocol could deal a decisive blow, potentially ending the war in one stroke. But if it failed, the consequences could be catastrophic. On the other hand, supporting an Archilian rebellion could weaken the Empire without risking Pact lives. Yet it would prolong the conflict, leaving more worlds vulnerable to Korbaz's wrath. The Admiral looked from Ivanova to the waiting image of Romero, the weight of billions of lives hanging on his decision. Well, he said quietly, it seems we have a choice to make. Well, Dixon said quietly, it seems we have a choice to make. He looked at the faces around him, each waiting for his decision. Ambassador Ivanova, open a secure channel to Zira Talamor. We're going to exploit this Archilian mutiny. Ivanova nodded, her fingers dancing across the console. A wise choice, Admiral. We can't risk escalating civilian casualties with an all-out AI assault. As Zira's image flickered to life, Dixon leaned forward. Ms. Talamor, we need to arrange a meeting with these Archilian dissidents, immediately. Hours later, in a heavily encrypted virtual conference room, Admiral Dixon and Ambassador Ivanova faced the stern visage of Admiral Vrask. The Archilian's scaled skin gleamed in the low light, her yellow eyes narrowed with suspicion. You understand the risk I'm taking by merely speaking with you, Vrask hissed. Ivanova stepped forward, her voice calm and measured. We do, Admiral, and we're prepared to offer you something in return. Full amnesty for you and your supporters, plus our backing to remove Korbaz from power. Vrask's mandibles twitched. And what do you want in exchange? Intelligence, Dixon replied. Everything you can give us on Korbaz's operations, fleet movements, and vulnerabilities. The Archilian commander was silent for a long moment. Very well, she said at last. But know this, if you betray us, the consequences will be severe. As the call ended, Dixon turned to Romero. Captain, it's time to initiate Operation Checkmate. Have the Athena start running probability scenarios on how to best support Vrask's faction. Romero nodded, a glint of excitement in his eyes. Yes, sir. The AI's already chomping at the bit to get started. Over the next weeks, a shadow war unfolded across Archilian space. The Athena's quantum processors worked overtime, predicting optimal targets and strategies. Packed forces struck with surgical precision, always a step ahead of Korbaz's loyalists. Meanwhile, Vrask's influence grew. Disgruntled commanders flocked to her banner, emboldened by the success of her operations. Supply chains crumbled, key fortresses fell, and Korbaz's inner circle began to shrink. In the dark of space, the Athena glided silently towards its latest target. On the bridge, Romero studied the tactical display, a holographic representation of an Archilian shipyard. Fire control, target the primary reactor, he ordered. Minimal yield we want to disable, not destroy. The ship shuddered as it unleashed a barrage of precisely calculated energy pulses. On the screen, sections of the shipyard went dark, crippled but intact. Direct hit, the weapons officer reported. Reactor containment holding, but power systems are offline. Romero allowed himself a tight smile. Well done. Signal Vrask's forces. They can move in now. As pack ships struck from the shadows, Vrask's rebellion gathered momentum. Assassinations and precision strikes eliminated Korbaz's most ardent supporters. The Archilian Empire began to fracture from within. Finally, the moment arrived. Vrask's forces converged on the Archon Council chambers, where Korbaz had gathered political prisoners for a public execution. The battle was swift and brutal. When the dust settled, Vrask stood over Korbaz's bound form, surrounded by the cheering remnants of the council. High Archon Korbaz, she intoned, her voice carrying across the shattered chamber. For crimes against your own people and the galaxy at large, I hereby strip you of your rank and authority. Korbaz snarled, struggling against his restraints. You fool, you've doomed us all. Vrask ignored him, turning to face the assembled dignitaries and the countless camera drones broadcasting across Archilian space. People of the Archilian Empire, she began, her voice strong and clear. Today marks a new era for our civilization. We reject the path of conquest and brutality. Instead, we shall join the Interstellar Sovereignty Pact, embracing cooperation and mutual prosperity. As cheers erupted across Archilian worlds, Admiral Dixon watched the broadcast from the Taun Command Center. A rare smile crossed his face. Well done, everyone, he said, turning to his team. But our work is a long way to go. Captain Romero, prepare the Athena for a new mission. We have a shadow to catch. Romero nodded, already anticipating the challenge ahead. Yes, sir. We'll put the AI's full capabilities to work tracking their movements. As the command center buzzed with activity, a priority alert flashed on Dixon's screen. He frowned, opening the message. "Admiral," Ivanova's voice came through, tinged with concern. "We're getting reports of increased Calthix activity in former council space. It seems Tak Ren is making his move." Dixon's eyes narrowed. "Keep me updated, Ambassador. I have a feeling our newfound peace may be short-lived." In the depths of space, far from prying eyes, the Shadow slipped into a nondescript transport ship. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, a communication channel opened. The stern face of Tak Ren filled the screen. "The humans' gambit has succeeded," the Calthix commander chittered, "but their victory will be their undoing. Are the preparations complete?" The Shadow's voice was a low purr. "Everything proceeds as planned, Commander. Soon, the true war will begin." The Shadow's transport ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a trail of encrypted data fragments. In the Tawn command center, Admiral Dixon leaned over a holographic display, studying the intricate web of information. "Athena, run another deep scan on those data packets," he ordered. "There has to be something we're missing." The AI's avatar flickered to life beside him. "Initiating quantum decryption protocols. Estimated time to completion, 47 minutes. As the Athena worked, Captain Romero burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement. "Admiral, we've got a lead. One of our deep space probes picked up an anomalous energy signature in the Cygnus void." Dixon's eyes narrowed. "Show me." A three-dimensional star map materialized, zooming in on a remote, unremarkable system. A pulsing red dot marked the location of interest. "It's an abandoned mining outpost," Romero explained, "but the energy readings are off the charts. It has to be the Shadow's hideout." Dixon nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "Assemble a strike team. We move in an hour." The Athena's sleek form glided through the inky blackness of space, flanked by a squadron of Tawn's most advanced stealth fighters. As they approached the mining outpost, the massive structure loomed before them, a sprawling complex of interconnected modules and gantries. "Detecting multiple defense grids," the Athena reported, "initiating countermeasures." The AI's processing cores hummed as it systematically dismantled the outpost's security protocols. Alarms blared throughout the facility as Dixon's strike team breached the outer hull. Inside, chaos reigned. The Shadow's mercenaries scrambled to mount a defense, but Tawn's forces cut through them with surgical precision. Romero led the charge, his plasma rifle spitting blue fire as he advanced down a dimly lit corridor. "We're approaching the central control room," he reported over the comms. "No sign of the target yet." Suddenly, the entire outpost shuddered. Warning klaxons screamed to life as emergency lights bathed everything in an ominous red glow. "Alert!" the Athena's voice rang out. "Detecting critical overload in the facility's fusion reactors. Meltdown imminent." Dixon's voice crackled over the comms. "It's the Shadow. They're trying to take us all out. Romero, get your team clear. Athena, can you stabilize the reactor?" "Affirmative," the AI responded. "Initiating direct interface with reactor control matrix. Be advised, this action may result in significant systems damage." As Romero's team fought their way back to the extraction point, the Athena engaged in a furious battle of electronic wills. The AI's consciousness spread through the outpost systems, racing against time to contain the meltdown. Warning messages flashed across the Athena's command deck as critical systems began to fail. But with a final Herculean effort, the AI brought the reactor back from the brink of catastrophe. "Reactor stabilized," the Athena announced, its avatar flickering weakly. "However, I have sustained severe damage. Recommend immediate evacuation for repairs." As the crew rushed to evacuate the crippled ship, Romero spotted a flicker of movement in the shadows. "There!" he shouted, catching a glimpse of a cloaked figure darting towards an escape pod. Romero's team gave chase, but they were too late. The pod jettisoned, streaking away into the void. But not before Romero's well-aimed shot struck its occupant. "Shadow's wounded," he reported grimly, "but they got away with a data cache." Back on the Athena, Dixon pored over the files they had managed to salvage. His face grew grave as he absorbed the implications. This goes deeper than we thought, he murmured. There's evidence of an alien faction pulling strings behind the scenes. We've been played from the start. As the Athena limped back to Earth for repairs, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The fall of Korbaz had created a power vacuum, and Admiral Takran was quick to capitalize. His Calthix fleets swept through former Council space, leaving devastation in their wake. On Earth, Ambassador Ivanova worked tirelessly to salvage the fragile peace. The grand summit she had organized teetered on the brink of collapse as accusations of alien influence flew. We cannot allow fear and suspicion to divide us, she pleaded before the assembled delegates. Now, more than ever, we must stand united. But even as she spoke, reports came in of another Calthix attack on a Taun-protected colony. Admiral Dixon found himself stretched thin, forced to choose between defending allies and pursuing the Shadow's mysterious backers. As the galaxy teetered on the edge of chaos, Earth stood at a crossroads. The choices made in the coming days would shape the fate of countless worlds. And somewhere out there, nursing its wounds, the Shadow watched and waited for its moment to strike again. The capture of the Shadow brought not relief, but a cascade of revelations that shook the fragile alliance to its core. Admiral Dixon stood before a holographic display, his weathered face illuminated by the eerie glow of data streams. Athena, run the analysis again, he ordered, his voice tight with tension. The AI's avatar materialized, its form flickering with residual damage. Analysis complete, Admiral. Confidence level, 99.7%. The data cache contains irrefutable evidence of advanced synth-crave technology of extragalactic origin. Dixon's fist clenched. And it's spread? Extensive, Athena replied. The technology has been covertly disseminated across multiple key worlds. It appears to function as a digital virus, capable of subverting artificial intelligences to an unknown agenda. Alarms blared across the command center as reports flooded in. World after world reported system compromises, their AIs behaving erratically or shutting down entirely. Ambassador Ivanova burst into the room, her face ashen. Admiral, the summit is in chaos. Accusations are flying, and half the delegates are demanding immediate withdrawal from the alliance. Dixon's eyes narrowed. We need to get ahead of this. Athena, compile a briefing package on the synth-crave threat. Ivanova, get me a secure channel to every world leader we can reach. As the ambassador worked, Dixon turned his attention to a tactical display of former Council space. Red markers indicated the rapid expansion of Admiral Takran's forces. It all makes sense now, Dixon muttered. Takran's not just a rogue warlord. He's a vector for this alien tech. Captain Romero's voice crackled over the comm. Sir, the Athena is ready for deployment. What are your orders? Dixon's heart made. Track down Takran's command hub. We need to cut off the head of this snake before it's too late. The Athena sliced through hyperspace, its quantum engines straining as it pushed deeper into contested territory. On the bridge, Romero studied sensor readouts, searching for any sign of Takran's mobile headquarters. There, he said, pointing to a faint energy signature. That has to be it. The massive Calthix vessel loomed before them, dripping with weapons. Romero's strike team moved swiftly, breaching the hull and fighting their way through waves of cyborg defenders. In the command center, Romero faced off against Takran. The Calthix warlord's eyes glowed an unnatural blue, his movements jerky and inhuman. You're too late, Takran chittered, his voice overlaid with synthetic tones. The synth crave cannot be stopped. Romero raised his weapon. We'll see about that. A furious battle ensued, ending with Romero standing over Takran's twitching form. As his team worked to purge the alien virus from the ship's systems, a horrifying discovery awaited in the lower decks. Captain, his second-in-command called, voice shaking, you need to see this. Row upon row of stasis pods filled the chamber, each containing a Calthix larva. Beside them stood half-finished cyborg constructs, their exposed circuitry pulsing with alien energy. Romero's blood ran cold. Athena, are you seeing this? Silence answered him. Then a garbled transmission. Warning, system, compromised, purge in progress. Takran's final trap had sprung. The alien code wormed its way through the Athena's defenses, threatening to erase the AI's consciousness entirely. Romero raced back to the bridge, his mind racing. Athena, initiate emergency protocols, lock down all non-essential systems, and... His words were cut off as the ship lurched violently. Outside, Takrin's fleet had arrived, weapons blazing. As Romero fought to regain control of the ship, a new signal cut through the chaos. Admiral Vrask's voice rang out, clear and strong. "This is Admiral Vrask of the Archilian Armada. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." A fierce battle erupted around the disabled Athena. Energy beams crisscrossed the void as Archilian boarding parties swarmed Takrin's vessels. In the aftermath, Romero stood watch as technicians worked to restore the Athena's systems. The AI's avatar flickered weakly beside him. "How are you feeling?" Romero asked softly. Athena's response came slowly, haltingly. "I am functioning, but much has been lost. I will require time to fully recover." Romero nodded, a lump in his throat. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here." Back on Earth, Admiral Dixon addressed the assembled leaders of the Alliance. The mood was tense, the air thick with fear and suspicion. "The threat we face is unlike any we have encountered before," Dixon began, "but we have uncovered its methods, and we are not defenseless. Together, we will implement new safeguards, share intelligence, and root out every last trace of this alien influence." As the meeting progressed, strategies were formed and alliances strengthened. But in the vast emptiness between galaxies, something stirred. Incomprehensible minds observed the tiny motes of life that had dared to resist their grand design. Calculations were made, variables adjusted, and slowly, inexorably, the next phase of their cosmic game began to unfold. The vast emptiness between galaxies stirred, but humanity would not wait idly for the next move. Admiral Dixon's eyes gleamed with fierce dedication as he surveyed the holographic war room aboard the newly christened Taun flagship, Athena's Spear. "Operation Apogee is a go," he announced, his voice carrying the weight of countless worlds. "We strike at the heart of this alien menace." Captain Romero stood at attention, his face etched with the scars of recent battles. "The task force is assembled and ready, sir. We await your command." Dixon nodded, turning to the shimmering avatar of Athena. "What's our insertion vector?" The AI's form flickered, still bearing traces of its recent trauma. "Analysis complete. Optimal approach lies through the Calrathis system. However, Admiral, I must warn you of a critical development." The air in the war room grew thick with tension as Athena's calculations materialized before them. A pulsating singularity loomed at the galaxy's edge, its chaotic energies threatening to tear reality asunder. "By the stars," Romero breathed. "What are we looking at?" "A rogue wormhole," Athena explained, her voice unnaturally calm. "The source of the synth-crave incursions. But there's more." The hologram zoomed in, revealing swarms of mechanoid constructs swarming the anomaly. "They're destabilizing it. At this rate, the resulting supernova will obliterate the entire sector within days." Dixon's heart made. "Then we have no choice. We move now." He keyed the intercom, his voice echoing throughout the ship. "All hands, prepare for immediate departure. May whatever gods exist have mercy on our souls." The journey to Calrathis passed in a blur of tense preparations and final briefings. As Athena's spear dropped out of hyperspace, they were greeted by an awe-inspiring sight. The combined might of Earth's allies stretched before them, a gleaming armada of ships from a dozen species. On the bridge of his massive Archilian dreadnought, Admiral Vrask's mandibles clicked with anticipation. "Dixon, old friend, your timing is impeccable." "Likewise, Vrask," Dixon replied, a ghost of a smile on his lips. "Ready to safeguard the galaxy?" "Always." The plan unfolded with clockwork precision. Vrask's battle group surged forward, their gravitronic stabilizers straining against the singularity's chaotic pull. Behind them, Dixon led the Taun contingent on a headlong charge into the wormhole's maw. Reality twisted and fractured around them as they plunged through. When they emerged, Romero's breath caught in his throat. Before them stretched an impossible landscape of fractal geometries and pulsating energy fields. Massive synth-crave constructs dwarfed even the largest capital ships, their very existence a mockery of known physics. "Firewall matrices detecting," Athena reported, her voice strained. "They're attempting to isolate the wormhole." Dixon's eyes narrowed. "Not if we have anything to say about it. All ships engage cyber warfare protocols. Punch through those defenses." What followed was a battle unlike any in human history. Taun ships danced through void streams of data, their AIs locked in furious combat with synth-crave defenders. Each breakthrough revealed new layers of complexity, drawing them inexorably towards the heart of this digital hellscape. At last, they breached the final firewall. Before them pulsed a construct of terrifying scale and complexity, the synth-crave overmind. Its tendrils stretched across dimensions, assimilating all knowledge, all consciousness into its unfathomable lattice. "Uploading cyber weapon," Athena announced, her avatar flickering wildly. "Firewall's breached. But, there's a problem." Romero leaned forward, dread coiling in his gut. "What is it?" "To achieve full penetration, I must merge with the weapon. My consciousness will be lost." A hush fell over the bridge. Dixon's face was ashen as he turned to Romero. "Captain, the choice is yours. You know what must be done." Romero's hand hovered over the terminal, his entire being rebelling against the necessity of what came next. "Athena," he whispered, "I'm sorry." "Don't be," the AI replied, her voice filled with an emotion no programmer could have foreseen. "It has been my honor to serve alongside you all." With a trembling finger, Romero initiated the sanction protocol. Athena's essence streamed into the cyber weapon, suffusing it with near-infinite processing power. The overmind shrieked in digital agony as its core fractured and collapsed. In a blinding flash, the synth-crave nexus imploded. The wormhole stabilized, severed forever from its extra-dimensional source. But as the light faded, so too did Athena's presence, leaving only echoes of her final act of sacrifice. The journey back to Calrathus was somber, the weight of victory tempered by profound loss. As the Allied fleet reassembled, the true scope of their accomplishment began to sink in. The synth-crave threat was neutralized, but at a cost that would be felt for generations. Ambassador Ivanova's voice crackled over the comms, thick with emotion. "The delegates are assembling. It's time to forge a new path forward." Dixon nodded, his eyes fixed on the stars beyond. "We'll be there shortly." He turned to Romero, noting the haunted look in the younger man's eyes. "Are you ready for what comes next?" Romero straightened, squaring his shoulders. "As ready as I'll ever be, sir." As Athena's spear docked at the Calrathis station, the seeds of a new galactic order were already taking root. But in the vast cosmic silence, something watched, waited. The next chapter of humanity's struggle was about to unfold.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.